Hi, welcome back to the Keg King channel. I'm Daniel. We're at Keg King's K1 headquarters. This is where we have our showroom. This is also where we have our warehouse and where we supply lots of people across Australia and the world. We also have a production facility right across the street. So what I want to talk to you about today is kegs. All the different types of kegs that there are, but especially the kegs that we produce right here in Melbourne, Australia. So we're going to go across the road to what we call K2, which is our production facility. I'm going to show you around a little bit and we'll show you the differences in the kegs that exist in the market and how the King Keg, the keg that we produce at Keg King, compares to those kegs. So let's have a look at that. So when it comes to kegs, there's all sorts of different stuff on the market, but for you guys, there's always the Corny Keg, right? Which is the stainless steel keg that people have known and loved for years. So it usually comes in a 19 liter or 5-gallon size, and a 2.5 gallon size, or a 9.5 liter size. So the little and the big ones. Now we also have a version at Keg King that we make with a blue handle, because blue for Keg King, yay. But also, we created this keg. Now this keg was never intended to replace the Corny Keg. It is a keg that we made for what we call a rapid keg, to be able to supply breweries with a way that they can just simply fill a keg and send it out. It's completely recyclable, and it can be made as an A-type spear, a D-type spear for commercial kegs, or it can be capped with ball lock equipment, just like a Corny Keg. So it comes in a 20 and a 10. And they're exactly the same hardware as you would find on a Cornelius keg. The difference is with these kegs is that they hold a little bit more. They hold 20 liters instead of 19 liters. They're a little bit wider in their shape, and the handles, of course, are all plastic in this case, but are really quite rigid, so they're able to be picked up when they're full, no problem. They weigh way less than the Corny Keg. So the Corny Keg is a lot heavier because of its stainless steel construction. This is actually only just under 1 kilo in weight. So the 10 liter is the same material as the 20 liter here. So we make them off of the same mold in this machine behind me here. So the difference with these though is in how you use them. So the differences with these kegs and how to use them are, there's not really too much that's very different about them, but there's things that we get a lot of calls and a lot of questions from brewers all over the place about how they carbonate their beverages. And there are a lot of brewers out there that are doing it in this kind of like hit and miss way, where they get the beverage cold and they hit it with high pressure. Then they leave it for what they feel is the right amount of time, until they hit a saturation level with their carbonation that they're happy with. Now, that's not really exactly the way to do it, but there's tons of people doing it. So there's like a really good right way to do it, which is the set and forget method, which is gonna mean that you never overcarbonate your beverage. And it's a much safer way to do it as well, but it does take a little bit longer. So these gray pressure relief valves that are on the lids of your Corny Kegs are set to go off at a much higher burst rate, somewhere around 100 psi. The kegs themselves are rated to go to about 130 psi. But with the PET kegs, we have a much lower burst rate for the pressure relief valves, just to keep things safe in transit. We give you the pressure relief valves in the lids. Now the new ones are white and they are 25 psi. The older ones are 35 psi and are these red ones that you can see here. Now, either one of these is fine, and swapping them for pressure relief valves that have lower pressures in them is absolutely fine as well. You would never really want to put a gray PRV from a Cornelius keg into a PET keg, because that would make the burst pressure of this too dangerous to use. If you were to crank up the pressure, you could have catastrophic failure of the keg. So too, if you were using a Corny Keg and you are one of those guys that does the rock and roll method, where you're rolling your keg around, don't do that with PET kegs. What we would be worried about happening in that event is if you had it on a floor that had any debris on it at all, and you had the pressure up to try to roll the carbonation into the beverage and get the CO2 to mingle with that liquid. If you were to hit something that was sharp enough to puncture the tank, again, you'd have catastrophic failure, and the worst thing possible, you could lose your beverage. So we wouldn't want that to ever happen, so don't do the rock and roll method with these kegs. But as for that, the other differences are really quite simple. These are much heavier in their construction, and the PET keg is super light for both transport and ease of being able to get it around places when you have it in your brewery. The handles are going to easily hold the liquid when this is full at either 20 or 10 liters. It's super simple to load these up and put them places without having to use trolleys. So from a home brewing perspective and from a ease of use perspective, these are a little bit wider, so you can fit a few less of them inside of a kegerator than you could a Corny Keg. However, the abilities of these kegs to be able to offer you affordable, cost-effective ways to get into kegging are fantastic. This is like half the price of a Cornelius keg. Brand new, ready to go, and it gives you the option of also turning these into fermenters should you so want to. But with the ease of getting into kegging, getting away from bottles, making this entire hobby and pastime enjoyable for you, these kegs offer some fantastic solutions at an unbeatable price. So check out the King Keg, and we hope you enjoy them.